When it comes to Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender, there's obviously going to be a few people that are like die-hard fans of the animation. And
you have to promise me that you won't stop caring.
I've looked at some of the trailers and gone, yeah, that looks iffy. I am a big fan of the animation. My wife didn't mind the Shia LaBeouf movie because she had never watched the Avatar animations before, so she just came from a separate store and thought, yeah, that was fun. For me, I didn't like the film because it broke away from everything that our character Aang was.
Lord Momo of the Momo Dynasty, your Momoness.
Avatar Aang, how you do? Go on.
So that's what I was hoping, that at least whatever they were going to stick to, that they got the characters right. So let's jump in and find out. A young boy known as the Avatar must master the 4 elemental powers to save the world and fight against an enemy bent on stopping him. Now there's only 8 episodes to cover the first season, but they're all quite meaty episodes, just under an hour, which is okay. But my biggest negativity, and just to kind of get those out of the way so I can talk about the positives, is it does feel rushed. And there's also stuff that if you recently rewatched the Avatar: The Last Airbender series, you will know that they're missing out some of those characters. They just kind of skipped it and thought, yeah, that's not really necessary for the series. The first season of the animated series has 20 episodes, so there's a lot going into there. But for the most part, they hit the plot points. Now, where this feels rushed is where the animation would take times to build some of the relationships that we see our characters in. Here, it feels rushed very quickly, and suddenly someone's in love, someone's willing to spend time with other and you spend the rest of their life. That sort of thing just feels suddenly like after like one conversation, or they suddenly there, where the animation would have spent time or felt like it spent more time building up those relationships. Here it just feels like we're meant to believe relationships, and I didn't quite feel that. I just thought, if this was a 10, 11, 12 episodes first season covering that and giving us more of some of those dialogues, building up those characters, maybe not skimping out some of those side stories, then I think I would have believed that. But that's my kind of only massive negativity towards the first season, because everything else I thought knocked it out of the park. There was a moment at the beginning of the first episode when Aang is in his avatar state. And I looked at the CG and went, oh, that doesn't look right, that doesn't look good. But the rest of the time, I thought the CG, and it's CG heavy, CGI, special effects with all the water bending, the big crescendo of the end episode 8, which is heavy on the CG. It all looks really good. And because a lot of it is fantasy, and obviously set with green screen and blue screen depending on what their uses are or are needed, there is a tendency that something can look good but still look green screen, and for like 80-90% I would say this looks excellent. There's a few little bumps, but I didn't mind that, because with what was going on screen was detracting me from anything that was a negativity. So when you're seeing the water bending or the air bending or the rock bending, which I think a lot of fans were worried about, like will that look the worst? Actually, the rock bending was one of my favorites. When we get to see a wicked fight scene in one of the, and I'm not going to talk about any specifics fight scenes because some haven't watched the animation, so doesn't know where the story is going. But when you do see some of those rock fighting scenes, there's one in particular I thought was excellent. And in my mind, I held it in response to remembering what the animation was. It's very hard for people that have watched the animation not to compare it, so I might as well just kind of talk about a little bit about it. But seeing it in live action version, I was like, yes, not everything needs to be live action, but seeing this in live action is a lot of fun. But the main issues for me was, were they going to get the main characters right? And talking about that CG, we had the flying bison, which is Aang's kind of best furry friends, one of 2, and he looks fantastic, excellent, has facial expressions and the mannerisms, the sound effect, all makes him feel very real, like a tangible character. The fantastical elements, very well grounded, but also looked great and take you to that escapism place. When it comes to our main characters, obviously Aang has, well, there's 2 main friends. So we have Katara, who's played by Kawentio. We have Ian Osley, who plays Sokka. And then on the other side, who's trying to catch Aang, is Prince Zuko. And Gordon Cormier plays Aang. And Aang, he has one of the hardest acting choices, or having the abilities. He's a fairly young actor, but he has to incorporate the buoyancy and life of the party sort of character that brings joy, the infectiousness of somebody that you want to be around, but also then a character that carries weight, someone that is now at a young age, he wasn't where he was supposed to be because of a thing that happens at the beginning, so he carries the guilt of past whatever has happened, and now he carries the weight of being the Avatar, and somehow as a young kid he needs to save the world and master all four elements to do that. So there's so much weight to his character, so he has to carry that balance of being incredibly emotional but not like kind of crying and bubbling and breaking down every second. The animation version of this did so well with the voice actor and expressing that through animation, and I was amazed to see that for the most part they really did get this right. The actor nailed it in the laughing and the jokes, in the camaraderie between the friends, and then those moments where he's really feeling the weight of what he has to do or who he has to become.
Everyone is counting on me.
The balance between the Avatar and then just a friend is a really interesting showcase for this person's acting ability, Gordon's, and playing Aang was very interesting. I can't wait to see as we get into my favorite books, which is book 2. Book 3 is excellent, but my favorite book is book 2. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do and how he plays that character. And Katara goes on a journey of learning to become a proper waterbender. I do feel, again, with that quickened pace, that she learns a bit quick in this, but what she brings with her character, I think for the most part nails that sort of relationship.
But imagine what'll happen if you don't even try.
Sokka, I wasn't absolutely enamored by at first, but I felt like either I grew into really liking his character or he grew into his character's becoming Sokka, and I thought he was so funny when he needed to be, but also believable in that character. So I have those animation versions to pull from. So I feel like they're kind of doing their own thing a little bit to make the characters their own, because TV is always different. It can't be exactly the same. But for the most part, they've got the core demographics of the characters, the motivations right, just feels right, which is awesome. Because then we come to my favorite kind of duo. We have Dallas Liu, who plays Prince Zuko, and Paul Sun Huang Lee, who plays Uncle Iroh. For me, and I think many others, even though Aang is very interesting, Katara is great, Sokka is great, Prince Zuko is the story for me that I think has the best emotional growing story. Where he starts from to where he ends up is fantastic. And even in this first season, the 8 episodes, you see Prince Zuko go through a major learning curve about life, because his dad is basically the big bad, and so he has a surrogate father with Uncle Iroh, and their relationship, their brokenness kind of brings them together. The building of that relationship is, I think, the heart of this series. It really works for me on screen when they're going through that emotional torment, when they're pushing at the boundaries of each other's getting to know each other, but in a much deeper way, when they have to grow as characters. That is showcased on screen very well.
Have you got a plan yet?
The plan is to go in and capture the Avatar once and for all.
So between the phenomenal acting, and action, I guess I'm mixing up those words, I think there is a balance between storytelling. So even though it is quite fast, and I did want more episodes, I thought this was a fantastic first take. I'm going to give this a solid 4 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
You got one.
Some people will be harsher with it. Some fans will nitpick. I don't have to. I can differentiate. I can put aside. I can see it as the thing by itself. So I hope you guys do as well. I hope you find enjoyment out of it like I did. If you support my channel, thank you for being here. I hope you find it somewhat informative and fun to watch. If you do want to support my channel, click on that next video that you see that comes up on the end title cards, and maybe like and comment, because that's what the YouTube algorithm likes to have in its feed. That's how you feed it to do better. So I appreciate you guys so much. But most of all, thanks for watching. Until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.